Don't. That's cool.
Yeah.
Shoot. Oh, in the Honda? Oh, jeez. I'm just wondering why they should do it now. Oh, jeez. Yeah, well, no, that's what's going to make us stronger here. That's true. That's very fun. All right, well, I'm all set for the meeting here, I think. Before I walk over to the use of hospital thing. Right, it's just a terrible treatment that they have. Weird place. It's pretty disappointing. I ran into Mary J there and kind of sat next to her. She had to leave to go hear some leaf complaints. It's like, we both should stay and listen to this. Or not to sit there and think of everybody's parents. Alright, well, I owe you 3 or 4 here. Thank you. Alright, bye.
Ultimately, though, I mean, I think the concession practice.
We ready?
Like, if you interviewed her yourself, he'd show you, and I can show you, what
Are these live?
Yeah. And I mean, you know the law as well, so you can see. Well, you know, the basic idea that there's a percent increase in life is the same, and then the question is, what is the amount that you can raise that?
Yeah, I think what I would do is I would want somebody else. Because I've been around this for a long time. It's just unfortunate. People have a lot of things out there. Yeah, I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I do.
Hey, I'm well. How are you? I did, and I printed it out here. Actually, I think Mary Beth was going to announce it, so one of them. Oh, your email about it? Oh, that, yes, I got that as well.
I'm putting my own testimony, but I got to work on it. I know the things that they want us to do.
That's why I stay away.
That's fine.
Astonishing. I really regret that I wasn't recording the conversation. The misinformation that they gave us.
And that's why
Hey, how are you? Good, how are you?
I'm well.
Dolores, I like in terms of, I think that she's an educator at heart, and I think she doesn't have anything in the game. You really have to know who you're talking to. And just like they're concerned about us. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I really like the idea of doing it. We just have to think about the space.
That's February.
Yeah.
Delightfully? Thank you. Nice.
Yeah,
She knows.
Smart move.
oh yeah, there's so much stuff to remember. Yeah, there's a nice space. I remember they treated us well. They had a lot of
Half the time we remember.
I think they very much want some community.
Looks like it's on for me right now.
I'd be open to that. I mean,
I would start there.
I
love
would
it. That
too,
looks
because
delicious.
I think the two of here, we're not going to get the MS.
Oh, really?
We need
If I eat it, do I have to recuse myself?
well, if we put it on the Cleveland Park list, I think you'll get a lot of people.
Okay.
Because
I think
this
you're right, because of this
conversation
controversy. Yeah.
really generated a lot. That is such an active list. People, community. I think it's a good list to be on. I don't read.
Pretty busy lately, but
The topics come up in
see, I think this will be a little bit of a quicker meeting than the last
leaf
two.
blower issue or this
Yeah,
or
that's a
I realized that we have meetings from February, March,
Really?
We're
and
So he's a little shop. He's in
that we have to approve. Everybody's seen, and I have everybody's comments, and I fixed everything that everyone said.
Good.
So we should
His name
just.
is Gerard. It's called Salon Gerard.
Okay.
And it's.
Is it reasonable?
Oh yeah, the price is
Because I
really
went to
good.
Georgetown at one point. It's like, why don't I have these money yet? I don't even know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. People differ on reasonable, but I thought
you
it
and
was
David.
so. It
By
was,
the way,
I think I paid like
called a settlement
180
agreement,
for
yeah.
color.
It used to be
and
voluntary,
which
and now
I feel
it's
like in
settlement.
DC, that's a good price.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's
Fair
very
enough.
reasonable.
Maybe
really
it-
nice guy.
Gerard's salon is a long salon.
Maybe they decided
And
it's
it's
not
in
so
the basement.
voluntary. We're kind of
Yeah, I
taking
know.
over.
I'm close.
Nah,
This
he's
is the most
great.
valuable information I've had all day.
Cleveland Park List. That's how I learned about it.
I know I should go on it. I used to be on it.
It's easy to join.
But
Kind
then
of
going
get a
on
first
research,
impression and just, you know, it's going to be both sides.
Oh
So
my
it's Tracy today. So Tracy, if you ever see a horse, don't write her. But ask Mary. I have these people. But anyway,
Well, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for the stuff. And we'll figure something out with renters 101.
We can do them together. I mean, I'll
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. To begin, I want to thank Comet Bryce, the general manager, for bringing the pizza for us tonight. It was very thoughtful of you. It's dinner time. It has nothing to do with the fact that they have an item on the agenda tonight.
Are we being blocked? Is there pizza allowed? Hey, where's the Chick-fil-A?
Okay,
That was the.
so we're going to do introductions first. Pat, you want to start?
I'm Patrick Hopchick from ANC 3F07.
Andrea Molad, ANC 3F05, Commission Secretary.
I'm Malik Nugent, ANC 3F06, and I'm the chairman.
Hi, I'm Shirley Adelstein, ANC 3F02. I'm the treasurer.
Mary Beth Ray, 3F3.
Hello and good evening. I'm David Dickinson. I'm a newly elected commissioner for ANC 3F01.
Welcome, David.
Welcome, David.
Thank you.
So David was elected at the special meeting 2 weeks ago. So we're very glad to have him here. This is his first meeting. He was sworn in last week by Councilmember Che. So we're pleased to have him here.
Thank you.
So with the six of us here, we have a quorum being 4. We'll start by approving the agenda and then the minutes. So on the agenda, there are copies of the agenda outside. We have our ordinary business, and then we'll have the Forest Hills Connection grant application, Acacia Bistro liquor license settlement agreement, Comet Ping Pong liquor license settlement agreement, Tilden Hall construction traffic plan update, and then a presentation from Chick-fil-A. Okay? Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Just one, I wanted to add the motion for
Okay.
approving funds for a scanner.
Okay, we'll take
For
that
what?
A scanner for Rachel to
Oh.
help with some of the.
So we'll do some other business at the end. Anything else? So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? All right. Agenda passes. So now we will approve the minutes. I'll hand it over to the secretary.
There are minutes from a few different meetings that have been circulated to the commissioners, and all of the suggestions have been entered into the minutes. And so I move for the approval of the February, regular March meeting, and special April 5th election meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? So it approves. It's approved. Okay. So we will now move to commissioner announcements. I'm going to start. So I wanted to start by welcoming David to the ANC. We've already greeted him. And I also wanted to officially thank Principal Thomas, who is the principal of Hearst Elementary School, which hosted us for the special meeting that we held to have the election. Things went very well, and it was very nice to be able to see the new facility there at Hearst. We had the election in the library, which had a number of books that had been paid for by an ANC grant. We were happy to see. And
Thank you notes. I forgot
and
to
there was
bring
a pile of thank you notes to the ANC from the students, which was also very nice to see. So thank you, and once again, welcome to David.
Thank you, Maliki. I'll reserve my expressions of gratitude to my opening remarks,
Great.
but thanks.
So just a few other announcements from me. We're going to be discussing a proposed curb cut on Reno that's related to the merch modernization process. We'll be discussing that at our meeting next month. But I just wanted to let the community know that that is now on the table. We do have some plans that have been submitted with the official application. So we'll post those plans on our website so people can review them and send us questions, comments, concerns through our email, and then be prepared to come to the meeting next month if you want to comment on it during the open session. The DC Board of Elections is gearing up for the November elections this year. And they have some new voter equipment. So they've sent me an email asking if they can come to our meeting next month to demonstrate the voter equipment to the community. So again, this is just a heads up to people. If you're interested in seeing that, I think we'll probably try to facilitate that next month. They're going to discuss the process of voter registration. They can answer questions, and we'll set something up in the back there. And then finally, the Department of DPW, actually, what are they?
Public Works.
Public Works. Has a free mural program here in the city. And one of the businesses in our ANC, Jake's, across the way, has applied to have a mural painted on the big blank wall there overlooking the gas station. So the woman who runs this program has offered to come in and talk to us about the program and how they select their artists and things like that. So we may do that next month as well. So that's also just a heads up.
Does the community get to vote on the nature of the mural?
Vote on the nature of the,
Or have a role in
yeah.
what it looks like?
The owner of the building has input, and so yes, the community can work on that with the owner of the building.
Okay.
So but I'm in touch with Gaynor about the whole thing. So so that's all that's all of my announcements. Pat, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Just 1 second, sorry. I have just a single announcement. I just want to thank everyone from the community around Hillwood Museum, specifically the residents on Linian, Lenore, and Tilden Place who came out to our meeting last Wednesday evening. Yeah.
That's not for the room.
But thank you to everyone who came out to that meeting and discussed the future of your streetscape. It's the first in a long road of a process to get it redone, and I know members are huddling right now to consider the exact changes they want. I want to thank DDOT and DOEE for coming out, and I did want to flag that there is an effort currently underway in that community to move forward on some issues related to the stormwater mitigation. They are attempting to get a cluster of residences and properties involved with the River Smart Communities program. That's something we've worked on in the subcommittee on Melvin Hazen and Soapstone Trails Parks. But if you're one of those residents, or if you're just another resident in ANC 3F and is interested in that program, let me know. They provide free audits of your home and some recommendations on things that you can do to reduce stormwater runoff. It's a great program that helps preserve our streetscapes and also the parks that we treasure so much. Thank you.
Rachel, don't worry about it. Andrew?
I have nothing.
I have announcements on behalf of Sally Gresham for 3F4 and then announcements for 3F3. First of all, I'd like to take a minute and congratulate Sally Gresham and her husband Steve on the marriage of their son Seifer. That's why Sally is away, and very exciting. Their only child got married. Second of all, I want to congratulate Park Van Ness on the opening of the sidewalk and the installation of their landscaping, including mature willow oak trees and liriope. It's starting to look very nice. Third, I want to thank American University, WAMU, Marlene Berlin, and anybody else who went out to the American University cleanup day with the mini park across from Calvert Woodley behind WAMU. Happily, the flowers and other plants that the Boy Scouts planted in the fall are still going strong. We're working with the Berman family and American University to install 3 new benches in that area, as well as a trash can and cigarette thing and dog waste thing. And it's really going to be lovely, and hopefully it'll be a destination point for the neighborhood. So moving on to 3F3 announcements, I have 2 announcements. First of all, I learned this week from Councilmember Mary Che's office that she is re-proposing the site at 3101 Albemarle Street as a possible use as a family homeless shelter. This is the former Polish ambassador's residence, and the residence was on the original list that came out maybe about a month or so ago from the city. There were 3 sites identified in each ward. The site that the city has selected is on Wisconsin Avenue down near Calvert Street. So I understand from Mike Matthews of Mayor Bowser's office that the Polish ambassador's residence, as far as they're concerned, is not a viable site. So we will continue to follow that and keep the community updated. The second announcement is that some of you have seen the beautiful report that the Office of Planning did, the Van Ness Commercial Action Strategy Report. And Ryan Hand and his team are going to officially present and launch that report on Thursday this week, April 21st, from 5:30 to 7:30 at the new UDC Student Center. So it's open to the community. It would be great if as many ANC commissioners as possible are able to attend. That's all.
Again, David Dickinson with 3F01. I first want to just thank a few folks for allowing me to get to this place. I'm excited about being in this place and serving our community, my single-member district in the ANC, in a larger capacity, and even the district to some degree, hopefully. I wanted to thank Malachi especially. He's reached out to me several times to make sure I've understood the process, and even this afternoon to make sure I understood how carefully run these meetings are. So also wanted to sort of extend a greeting and a thank you to my fellow commissioners. I look forward to working with all of you. I know you all work really hard and care a lot about our community, or you wouldn't be here, so thanks for your service as well. Wanted to thank Mary Che. She swore me in last Tuesday, and that was kind of a thrill given I had her as a law school professor at GW maybe like 5-6 years ago, or maybe a little bit longer ago. And to thank Hearst Elementary. I was a PTA president there many years ago, and it was somewhat fun to have the election held in the library there, and I know Hearst Elementary is looking forward to hopefully hosting a few of these ANC meetings. I have a few announcements, given that I've been in this position for a week. I've got about 50 of them, but I'll see if I can winnow it down to 2 or 3. The district that I represent includes Hearst Elementary, Sidwell, and UDC, and also contains the Intelsat building. So I'm guessing it will be a somewhat challenging period of time, and a good period. So with regard to UDC, a couple upcoming events. Their annual Big Band Jazz Concert is on April 25th, which I think is next Monday at 8 o'clock. It's a fantastic concert. I know, Mary Beth, if you'd like to chime in. I've attended it several times. It includes...
When is it, sorry, David?
I'm sorry?
When is it?
Next Monday
8 o'clock.
in their Theater of Performing Arts, and it's a fantastic concert. It's UDC, Howard, and a third school. I can't remember. I never can remember the third school. Sorry?
University of Maryland.
University of Maryland, right. They also, staying with UDC, they're holding an event tomorrow night. It's a live telecast town hall. It's sort of a First Amendment forum. It's called Your Voice, Your Future, Freedom of Speech. That's also in the Theater for Performing Arts at 7 o'clock. I don't know the full scope of that event, but it includes free speech on campus and speech over the internet and things of that nature. I also want to say that I attended an event about a half an hour ago at the UDC School of Law, the David Clark School of Law, on the closing of the Washington home. That has a lot of issues for the residents there and for the district at large with regard to elder care, Medicaid, private care, and the treatment of the residents there now, as well as their transition to other places. I don't have a wealth of information on that. See me or send me an email and I can link you in with the School of Law that's taking that on in a pro bono type capacity. A couple other quick things. I will note that Sidwell has been on the docket here for a while, and I just wanted to announce that they did get their Board of Zoning approval within the last month or two. I'm going to continue to monitor that. There's no news really there at this point. I think that should do it for now. Thank you.
David, would you tell people what your ANC email address is?
Yes, it's my email address is Dickinson, Dickinson, ANC3F @gmail.com. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So now we will move to committee reports.
Yeah,
You have a committee?
I do have a committee report. The Melvin Hazen Soapstone Valley Parks and Trails Committee met yesterday evening. We had a small agenda besides passing or approving our most recent minutes. We talked mostly about subcommittee structures. We're figuring out the process for those issues and figuring out if they work better as a bit of a task force with leads or more as a formal subcommittee structure. At this time we're dealing with publicity, projects, grants, the Soapstone Sewer Rehab Project, water quality, and stormwater mitigation. If you're interested in these issues, the meetings are open to the public, and so is the membership in the committee, so we'd love to have you. Just let me know. We also had an announcement from one of our constituents here in the audience tonight, who I think we'll be hearing from a bit, Kim Ross, who is partnering with Girl Scout Troop 163 to clean Soapstone Valley on Saturday, April 30th at 9 a.m. I think she'll have some more info about the event, but I encourage all of you to make it if you can.
Great. Any other?
What we can do. Yeah.
Any other committee reports? Okay, thank you. So we'll now move to open forum. So we invite members of the community to speak about anything relevant to the neighborhood, things going on, things that are not on the agenda specifically. We can start with Ms. Ross, if you'd like to come on up.
Hello. My name is Kimberly Ross. I am a member of Girl Scout Troop 163. Three of us from the troop, Madison Kilpatrick, who is here today, Savannah Hill, and I are teaming up with the Rock Creek Park Conservancy in support of the 8th annual Rock Creek Park Extreme Cleanup. During the Extreme Cleanup, there will be volunteers at over 70 sites throughout Rock Creek Park. We have adopted the Soapstone section of Rock Creek Park. Rock Creek Conservancy worked with ANC 3F to lay down mulch on the Soapstone Trail in January. ANC 3F had the wood chips donated and over 60 volunteers participated. During the cleanup, we will find items such as bottles, glass, plastic bags, shoes, and more. The trash that accumulates in Rock Creek Park flows into the Potomac River and then ultimately ends up in the Chesapeake Bay. We need to stop the flow of trash at its source. our watershed. And we need your help. Please come join us on Saturday, April 30th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. We will meet at the corner of Albemarle and 32nd Street Northwest at the entrance to Soapstone Valley. No experience is necessary. All we need is your time. We will have plastic bags and gloves for you. Flyers will be passed around and sign-up sheets are in the bag. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. We really, this is in my single-member district, and I've known Kim since she was younger than she is now. And we're very grateful for the work you're doing to keep our park beautiful.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? David?
I'm David Bardeen. DC Water holds a town hall meeting in every ward in DC. And the Ward 3 town hall meeting, they're co-sponsored with the ward council members. So DC Water and Councilmember Mary Shea have scheduled a town hall meeting, which will take place at UDC's new student center ballroom in a very short number of days, and I'm ashamed to admit that I have forgotten. what
Thursday.
the date is. This
Thursday.
Thank you.
That's right.
And I think it's at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Teresa, did you?
Hi everyone, I'm Teresa with Van Ness Main Street, and we're official. Just wanted everyone to see that we went to an event where the mayor actually gave us our official designation, so we're really excited about that. And I thank Mary Beth for all of her work and Marlene to help us get there and keep us here in the audience tonight. And so I'll just put this next to our esteemed David, if anybody wants to look at it. And a couple of other events that we have coming up. One is this Saturday from 10 to 2 at Levine Music. We will be hosting the first annual DC Upper Northwest Arts Forum. And it's for artists and arts organizations in this region. And we have the DC Commission for the Arts and Humanities. Arthur is coming to speak. The Capers Foundation Executive Director will be there to talk about what's happening with grant makers in the arts. We have Arts CDC doing the training on marketing for artists. And finally, we're partnering with Hillwood and Levine, who will be talking about how we can all market better in this region. And the goal of this is to get more things happening here in Van Ness and Upper Northwest in terms of the arts and collaborating more, because that will help our local businesses as well. We want more people to come and partake in our events. The final thing is I have postcards that I'm going to pass around for our new event called Jazz at VN, Van Ness, for those of you who can't figure that out. And the first one is going to be part of International Jazz Day, which is held once a year throughout the world in a different location. Last year it was in Turkey, this year DC is the host. The Obamas will be having their own event, so if you didn't get tickets to go to the White House,
even if you did,
come to Van Ness. And our wonderful partner, Acacia Bistro and UDC, will be hosting this. Turker, who will be here later, will have special food and drink prices, and really encouraging you all to come down. We're going to be doing this every month at a different location in Van Ness, and we thank our partners who will be using the UDC. So I'm going to pass these out, and that's our announcements thus far. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa.
Great.
My name is Ronald Mason. I'm president of the University of the District of Columbia. I just came for 3 reasons. 1, to introduce myself. 2, to welcome our new representative. And then 3, to let you know that UDC will do everything that it can to be the best neighbor that we could possibly be.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
President Mason. Okay. Mike?
Hey everybody, Mike Matthews, I'm the Ward 3 liaison for the Mayor's Office. Congratulations, David. And it's been a while since I've been up here to just kind of say hi very briefly and give you a quick rundown. We actually have a Rock Creek stream cleanup this weekend down in Woodley Park, but definitely go to hers. Please support the Girl Scouts. I in no way want to steal your thunder, but if anybody wants to travel a little bit south, we have one this weekend at 9 o'clock. I will be out in front of Open City Coffee, kind of the same setup, and maybe I'll be able to make it up to Stone Valley a week later for yours, because that was a great event. Final thing, thank you to Commissioner Mary Beth Ray and Commissioner Gresham as well, made it out for our Pothole Palooza launch, which was, I guess, a couple weeks ago now. Pothole Palooza is starting to wrap up a little bit, but please find me before we head out here tonight if you have any streets that still need to get repaired here in ANC 3F.
The rest of Brandywine.
Brandywine, we are really working on that one. That is,
It's not just a photo op.
we're getting that. We're getting that for sure. But any others that need to be on that. So.
Well, and Mike, we sent you a list of the potholes
Yeah.
and the alleys for the upcoming Alley Palooza.
That's right.
Right.
So
Hopefully that's all.
It's all pointed. It's all in the hopper.
Okay, good.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Marlene?
Hello, I'm Marlene Berlin, editor of the Forest Hills Connection. I just wanted to let people know that we're having our art walk that was so popular 2 years ago again on May 15th. We are featuring 9 artists, local artists. We have 2 sessions, 10 to 1 and 2 to 5. And I hope you will all come out and support us. This is an event for the community as well as a fundraiser for the Forest Hills Connection. So thank you.
Marlene, what is the charge? How much is it?
The charge is $20 for each session or $30 for both.
Great. You have something else, David?
David Bardeen again. On Friday at the breakfast celebrating DC Emancipation Day, Mayor Bowser announced an initiative that she's going to push toward really getting the District of Columbia's 700,000 residents 2 U.S. senators by a statehood, a revised, improved, stated proposal, which she hopes to have the council approve, putting on the ballot in November. I mention this now because I hope this ANC will find occasion at one of your future meetings to consider issues involved in a referendum on statehood and the context of statehood. We have some real experts in this ANC, such as UDC Law School Dean Roderick, and I just hope you consider putting that on your agenda for the DC Council votes on the issue.
Thank you. I expected to see you being one of the people arrested down there.
Any 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the community?
No. I just wanted to acknowledge again that President Mason from UDC, I really appreciate you coming out, and I will say that your staff contacted me right away, and I know you guys have a very strong interest in being part of our community, and I just want to take a special note to thank you and your staff for that, and we definitely look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Forest Hills Connection grant application. So Forest Hills Connection submitted an official application for a grant at our last meeting. We have spent the last month carefully poring over the details. Are there any comments, questions, concerns? Marlene, is there anything else that you would like to say before we?
You just tee up what the amount is and what it's for.
So the amount is $850. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not it. The amount is $3,000. And it's the work to be performed will be it's to help them create a funding plan and marketing materials for the Forest Hills Connection. The work to be performed specifically is analysis of the revenue streams for the past 3 years, creation of the funding plan, and development of the materials. So the grant will pay for consulting, essentially pay for a consultant to do this work. So if there are no other comments or questions, make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor of the grant? Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Motion passes. Okay, thank you. All right. So now we're going to move on to the Acacia Bistro liquor license settlement agreement. I don't see Turker here. Were we expecting him?
I believe so, but I think we can hopefully.
He is Turker coming?
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we jump ahead to comment, if you guys are ready. Yeah? Okay, we'll jump ahead to the Comet Ping Pong liquor license settlement agreement. Hmm? Yep.
Andrew's not here. Is Andrew here, Bruce? Is Andrew coming?
I don't believe so.
Do you want to wait?
Is he coming?
I've been having some communications issues with them, so I'm not sure. I mean, I'm fine to go ahead.
Okay.
As long as everyone else is. I feel like pretty quick.
Okay. So if you would just describe for us the changes that are being proposed.
Sure. So we're making a change to our voluntary agreement. Specifically, we're going to add a sentence talking about the backdoor to Comet, that it always has to be closed, and then we're adding an extra paragraph to it describing that this new voluntary agreement supersedes all previous voluntary agreements.
Okay. Andrea, would you like to?
Yeah, just 2 words by way of introduction to this, and then I'll read you the text of the 2 new sections that Bryce mentioned. Comet's been a great neighbor. It's been a great place, open late, where people come and hang out and have a good time. But there have been some complaints from the neighbors about very high noise levels late at night. And after talking with them, we realized that, especially on warmer days, the back door to the restaurant gets propped open by employees, and the noise just reverberates down the entire alleyway and basically shakes people out of their beds. And so we spoke with James Alifantis and with Bryce, who's the manager, about what can be done about this. And they have, as a matter of fact, some of the things that they agreed to in here, they've already put in place.
It's on.
Yeah, if you want to describe what you've done to help with this.
So when our Comet is kind of just a described structure, it's a long structure, and at the back is a back door, and that parking lot behind Politics and Pros, and so one of our doors is there. And originally, we just wanted it to be a sheer face door because we didn't want anyone messing with it. And the problem with that is that when it's a sheer face door, people go through it, they prop it open because there's no handle to open it up. So we put a handle on the outside. We put a door closer on it so that it cannot be left open. As well, we changed our company policy. At all times, staff members are either instructed to keep the door closed, or there's someone during special events or whatnot, someone is dedicated to making sure that room meets the specifications that we've now set for it. And then on top of that, during events, we've put in place new policies about use of sound systems and things like that, and putting minimums and maximums on different things just to try and.
Okay. Both Bryce and James have also made available their personal cell phone numbers to myself and to the local neighbors in the off chance that there is a complaint. They're going to be hearing about it in the middle of the night. So here's the text of the new section that's related to this. Applicants shall be permitted to present live or recorded music inside the restaurant during food and alcoholic beverage service hours, provided, however, that no doors to the exterior of the restaurant shall be propped open after 10 p.m. when music is being played in the restaurant. This 10 p.m. opens the door to sort of afternoon music that can be heard in the outdoor seating in the front. So we thought that 10 p.m. was reasonable. Okay? So that's the upshot of the changes. There is also a section that the attorney asked to add at the end. The parties further agree that this agreement shall supersede and replace any previous agreements entered into by the parties. Because there are 3 or 4 older copies of previous agreements out there. So based on the cooperation of the restaurant owner and manager, I don't see any problem with the commission, and I recommend that the commission approve this and that we send a letter of support to ABRA in support of the renewal of the liquor license subject to this settlement agreement.
Can you remind us of the hours? The hours.
Yeah, the hours are till 3 a.m.
Okay. So is it Monday through Sunday?
Only Friday and Saturday.
Monday through Thursday till midnight, I think.
I think Monday through Thursday until 2, Friday, Saturday till 3, Sunday until 2.
Sunday, sorry.
Till 2.
2 a.m. Monday through Thursday and 10 a.m. through 3 a.m. Friday through Sunday, with last call 30 minutes prior to closing.
Okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, I have another question. With the rear door, that closes at 10 p.m. What's the policy again with regard to keeping it closed regardless of whether music is being played? I mean, if there's noise in the restaurant on the late weekend,
The issue had to do with the music.
Music.
The issue had specifically to do with the music that was really rattling the windows of the windows. And so if the door is closed, that should not be an issue anymore with the music.
And what does the, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to read the agreement beforehand, but what does it say about music on the patio?
We don't really.
No music on the patio, music inside only.
Okay.
Okay.
And is it amplified music? I'm just thinking in terms of
It's
Acacia.
amplified and it's live music also as well.
Oh,
There are
okay.
live bands, okay? And that was most of the issue, I think, when there were live bands and the amplification from that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from commissioners?
And how late is food service? I'm sorry, that was food service. When does that cut off?
Never. It
Never.
doesn't cut off.
No cutoff for
There
food.
has to be food service available until closing.
Okay.
It's part of our license.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's part of this.
Any questions from the community? No? Motion?
So I move that we approve the settlement agreement and send a letter of support to ABRA for the liquor license under the terms of the settlement agreement.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
It's my first time being here, but I do want to say thanks for being such a great community to us. I mean, as much as, it's very symbiotic to us, so I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the pizza.
Hey,
Thank you.
hope you guys enjoy it. It's not a bribe if it's open.
We have perfect
That's on
timing
camera.
to move back to vacation.
Okay, so we'll jump back now to Acacia Bistro liquor license. So David, do you want to tee it up?
Sure.
Turker's here.
Turker's here. Okay.
How are you?
Good.
Well, I saw
Welcome.
the agenda, so it's supposed to be
Sure.
half an hour from now, so it's
Sure.
just
David's just going to set it up.
I can set
so
it up
hang
for
on,
you if you
hang on
like.
just a minute.
So this is a renewal of a settlement agreement or a voluntary agreement, let's call it a settlement, from 2009. It's for for Acacia's Class C beer and wine license. I first wanted to say that Acacia has proved to be a great asset to the community and participant in Van Ness Main Street, and in my opinion is a great anchor. So we look forward to continuing to support and work with you.
He's the winner of a Great Streets.
I'm sorry?
He's the winner of a Great Streets grant.
Well,
we just got one today, and I was there with additional 84, I think, 84 or 87 places.
Congratulations.
Terrific. Congrats. Well, let me characterize the settlement agreement that 90% of it remains the same from the 09 agreement. Somewhat similar to the prior applicant of Comet, we are making a few small changes, and I don't know if you guys want to see copies of this. I'm happy to pass it down. But paragraph 4 talks about the hours of operation, and we're basically keeping it 6 a.m. to start and extending it to 2 a.m. from 12 midnight. So that's Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday and Sunday it remains at 8 a.m. Start time with a 2 a.m. Closing time, and similar to the conditions on Comet, that there'll continue to be a requirement that the service of food be provided during those hours. There also is, turning to paragraph 7 regarding music and other instruments, we basically have kept that the same, allowed guitar playing instruments or any other recorded music inside the restaurant, somewhat as soft background music during dining periods, and then added that for purposes of the summer garden outside, that music shall not be played after 12 midnight, I believe, Monday through Sunday, and that be unamplified music. And then finally, with regard to paragraph 13, we talked a little bit about the sort of ambient noise inside the restaurant. We continue to expect sort of best efforts to be exercised there. It's not a soundproof wall, so we slightly modified that to make sure that there's no unreasonable disturbance of any of the residents in or near that.
Across the street or next door, or
let's
across the other street.
Right.
So you have one Connecticut Avenue between us and the one Yuma Street between us.
Right. So that, I think, is the summary of the changes. I don't know if...
So the main changes are extending from midnight to 2 a.m.
2 a.m., yes.
the service of alcohol.
Yes.
And then just cleaning up the language about the
else is the same.
music.
Right.
Okay. Any questions from commissioners? Any question? No, sorry, Trevor. Would you like
I
to?
have to see you there at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because I won't be there.
Any questions or comments from the community?
Hopefully we'll see you there too.
All right. Okay. And make a motion.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the settlement agreement and forward that on to ABRA for purposes of their consideration of the liquor license renewal.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank you, Turker. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Would you be able to send an email to Abra, or should I get like hard copy and take it to Abra? They told me that you need to send a letter.
We send something signed. I have to sign something. We send it. We can fax it, email it. What's the deadline? Do you have a deadline?
There should be a hearing date.
May 5th.
May 5th?
So we'll take care of it.
Yes. Thank you.
So, personally, I think I sign it. And then we can
And then they sign
scan
it.
it.
We sign it.
I think his
Maliki
deadline is
sign.
sooner.
What?
I think his deadline is sooner than that.
The hearing, I think the deadline is May 5th. Mary Beth. The hearing is at May 5th. I think the deadline for the hearing is May
And
5th.
Andrea, we should probably look and make sure comments is worded similarly on the back, that it looks like the applicant signs and then Malik gives the chair signs as well.
Yeah,
so.
that's what I have at the bottom.
Yeah.
There's a signature line for Maliki and a signature line for the applicant.
Right.
Both have to get signed, and then the whole thing gets sent to ABRA.
Okay, well, we can do that tonight, since there were no amendments. Okay, so let's move on to Tilden Hall construction traffic plan update.
I can do this. So, I just want to introduce Michael Kinney and Ed Vivas from UIP. They are working on the renovation and addition at Tilden Hall on the south east corner of Tilden in Connecticut. are here to talk to us about a traffic plan that's going to be closing some lanes of Connecticut. Perhaps, I think we're talking about mid-March for start date. Things are a bit in flux, but we'll have about 7 days notice before construction ever happens.
In
Mid-May?
May.
What did I say, March? Okay. Not
Can
putting it
I
off
ask
that
you
far.
both
but-
to spell to tell me your names again? And
Sure. Michael Kenny, Kenney.
Ed Vivas, Vivas.
I have
And you're
s-
from the...
from UIP, Urban Investment
U-
Partners. And UIP's been, I want to commend you guys on just the open lines of communication you've had with me throughout the project and with your neighbors. I know 3901, 3883, you've dealt with some just the normal neighborly discussions with them. I invited DDOT here tonight to also talk to us about the plan. They weren't able to send someone, but I did have a chance to speak with our friend Matt Marcoux. Specifically about this. One of the things I asked him is why we hadn't had a chance to weigh on this in the past, and he kind of underscored to me that this is not that atypical of a thing. They issue about 50,000 of these permits annually, and they don't usually ask ANCs to sign on to them. So I asked him, okay, so does that mean UIP is kind of just going above and beyond in their open communications with this? And he said yes. So I want to thank you guys for coming, answering any questions we might have from the community. If you guys do have questions for DDOT, please send them to me. I will pass them along and get you an answer on it. But without further ado, I'll let you guys talk about it.
Thanks for the introduction, Pat.
So if you would just keep your introduction to about 5 minutes, introduce what's in the plans here.
Sure,
Thanks.
sure. As Pat said, my name is Michael Kenny. I'm the development manager on the Tilden Hall project for Urban Investment Partners, and this is Ed Vivas. He is the Senior Vice President for our general contracting arm, who will be performing the work both in the street and at the project. For you unfamiliar with the Tilden Hall project, it does contain 2 different components. One is a 75-unit historic renovation, and then the second component is a 25-unit ground-up addition. What we're here specifically to talk about is the work that's going to be taking place in Connecticut Avenue. It is a 4-phase project. As you can see in our simplified work plan here, we sort of broke down the impact to the community. We understand road work is not exactly anyone's favorite thing as contractors and as residents, so we're trying to limit that impact as much as possible. The durations are here on the left side of the work plan. Our phase 1 will be closing 2 southbound lanes, and that is a 2-week duration. We then move into phase 2, which is a 1-week duration. We'll be closing the 2 middle lanes of Connecticut Avenue. Phase 3 will be closing 2 northbound lanes, and then finally in phase 4 we'll be closing 1 northbound lane as well as the east side of the sidewalk. Ed can provide a little bit more detail on the work that goes into it if anyone has any questions about these specific constructability issues. But sort of the highlights there are the impact of the community is we'll be in Connecticut Avenue outside of our building for about 5 weeks. So we hope to limit that as much as possible.
So what we've targeted with our subcontractor is a start date, deploying traffic control fixtures for the southbound lanes. Our target is middle of May. Now, that depends on the pre-construction meeting that we have to have with DDOT and with DC Water. The work that we're doing is we're going to connect our storm water from our site onto a main that is on the southbound lanes of Connecticut. In order to do that, we need to confer with DC Water. We've already applied for the permit to do that with DC Water. Got all of our other permits for public occupancy in place. And finally, we're going to be doing a pre-construction meeting with them as well as with DDOT. two separate entities, and each one has different interest in the work that we're doing there. TCP plan that we provided is a DDOT approved and permitted TCP plan, and that may be tempered at the pre-construction meeting. The DDOT inspector may want additional features on it. But basically, we will be installing the traffic control plan on Connecticut Avenue itself when we mobilize to do the work, which will start at 9:30 in the morning. Connecticut Avenue is a special condition road because it's an emergency exit. So we've taken that into consideration until 3:30. That keeps us outside the rush hour on it, either southbound or northbound. And then once we're done with the work for that day, we will put down steel plates that are inspected and approved by DDOT. We have to get a permit for those as well. And then we'll leave the work site, then come back the next morning. The reason why the phase one takes 2 weeks is because that is where we're going to make the connection of our structure. We're actually putting a concrete structure, a manhole, that is going to serve as an apron, if you will, over the line, and then we'll do a tap to the existing line, connect our line, and then we're moving 2 lanes at a time until we get back to the sidewalk with just piping installation. So those go a lot quicker. And every day we make the job safe, and every day we'll plate it. So with that, unless you have any questions for us, I think that concludes our presentation.
So that means after you're done with the work for the day, you plate it and the lane's open again?
Yes, sir. Yes. Saturdays, we'll work Saturdays as well.
Okay. So commissioners, any comments, questions?
Yeah. I just want a clarification. Pat tried to explain it to me. Off rush hour, there are only 2 lanes on Connecticut Avenue southbound. There's a parking lane and then there's 2 lanes.
Well,
And you say you're going to close 2 lanes southbound. Can you tell me what that looks like? Sorry.
That includes the parking lane.
Yeah, one is the parking lane and one is the southbound lane. Then it's then there's the 2 southbound lanes. Then there is a southbound and a northbound lane.
So
we're looking at phase 1. It says 2 lanes southbound are going to be closed for 2 weeks. You're talking about the parking lane and one of the traffic lanes?
The parking lane, yes.
So you're going to leave one traffic lane open?
One traffic lane open. Well, one traffic lane closed.
Right.
So when we block ourselves, we will take one southbound traffic lane and the parking lane on phase 1. On phase 2, we'll have a southbound and a northbound lane. I think part of the confusion is this is, the TCP is showing the normal flow of traffic and not the rush hour flow of traffic.
That's when all of this is going to be happening though, right?
No, it's not going to happen in rush hour. It's going to happen between
Right, so it's going to happen during normal flow, not during
Yes,
rush
sir.
hour.
Yeah.
That's what's shown here. So we're good. Okay.
So there's no work, no lane closures during rush hour?
No lane closures during
in the
rush hour.
morning or in the evening?
That's correct.
Can you describe the condition of the roads once the work is completed, what your obligations are to pave over and what that looks like?
Yes, that is tempered 2 ways. One is when we submit for our permit to DDOT, they are required that we replace the asphalt in kind, meaning that if we made a trench, we replace it in kind. However, that is always tempered, and the final call is the DDOT inspector that will be looking over our work. And I have been in conditions where, depending on the traffic, depending on the type of road, depending on the age of the road, he will make a call that you have to go from gutter to gutter and go out 50 feet or 20 feet. So it's always up to them, and we temper ourselves for that, meaning that we are prepared to handle that should the need arise.
And so when you transition from phase to phase, and are you leaving behind metal plates after each phase, and then you'll do the whole asphalting at the end, or you're going to have 5 lanes of metal plates?
No. Most likely, what the inspector will require is that when we close off one section, that we close it out to the concrete portion of the road, and then that we cold patch it temporarily. And then we do the same thing with the other one and the other one, so on. So you will have a cold patch on it until it becomes time to replace with hot asphalt. And another aspect of that is that the inspector will very much tell us it won't happen this time because we're doing it in the summer. But there have been other conditions where it's winter and they will not want us to do hot asphalt, and they postpone that work until the spring or the summer. So that won't be the case here. So once we finish with the cutout and the excavation and the steel plating, the next step will be to re-asphalt over the concrete.
Thank you. Pardon me for not knowing this development, but are the buildings themselves already constructed, or this is sort of pre-work and then the...
One of the buildings is already there. It's been there for many, many years, 1940s, I think, Tilden Hall. And we are putting an addition to it behind it.
Okay, so this is sort of preceding all the...
Yes.
What are your stormwater requirements for those buildings?
In terms of...
Mitigation, or are there any requirements or any measures you're taking?
We're putting in a green roof on the entire roof. The existing building drains the roof by way of gutters and suffers surface runoff. However, the green roof will serve to retain some of that rainwater, and some of it will evaporate, some of it will go down our roof and down our gutter system. Our gutters are now going to be trained to go to catch basins that will connect directly to that storm drain line that we're talking about. The surface runoff on our driveways, and we have a little bit of a courtyard in between the addition and the building. At the end product is sort of like a oblique pentagon.
Mm-hmm.
So the courtyard is going to be open, and that itself is going to have drainage pavers.
Right.
And
Pervious,
they
right.
themselves, pervious pavement, they themselves will go to, we have a bioretention area at the very, very corner of our building with 30, I think it's all 3901. And then that bioretention is also connected to our,
Right.
to the storm drain. I will also add that while during construction, we've taken great care in trying to minimize the runoff from our property onto 3901 or the lot that is just to the east of us. By way of coordinating with DOEE fellows, and we have a erosion and sediment control plan in place.
One thing, if I would like to flag too, the runoff from Tilden Hall right now onto 3901 is something I've been hearing about. As soon as I came into office, the previous owner of the building kind of neglected it with the bioretention field, and as he said, the draining that this project will provide directly into the storm drain, that'll be mitigated in a large part, and so we'll just benefit this property, but the next door one as well. So,
great.
Hey.
I couldn't tell from your drawings whether the sidewalk is going to be closed for any portion of the...
Yes, ma'am. In the last phase, the sidewalk on the
northbound side.
On the northbound lanes, on the right of the northbound lanes of Connecticut will be closed. And there is a route that is offered there. Pedestrians will have to go around our barrier and onto the street, protect it, of course, and then get back to the sidewalk.
Okay.
How long will that space be?
I think it's 48 inches.
I mean, how...
the length.
The length of
the length, it's about 4 car lengths, something like that.
So that'll be phase 4, and so it'll just be for 1 week?
Yes.
And and like you said, it won't be closed to pedestrians, they'll just be moved in the street. I
Okay.
talked with Mr. Marcoux about it, and he said this was a fairly typical thing that they've done in other places before, especially with the short nature of it. They didn't think it made sense to close it all off to pedestrians.
I just have a quick question. I think you mentioned this, but what are the hours that you're going to be doing the work on the weekends?
On the weekends, we'll talk to the DDOT inspector. Our wish is that we would work from 8:30 to 4:30 or whatever the permit time allows, but it'll be tempered by whatever he decides out there, because there is no rush hour on Saturday. And of course, we don't work weekends in DC. Sundays. There's just no work going on.
Okay, I saw one question from the community here. I see another one.
That the sidewalk has an interruption, is that 24 hours a day for that last week? Or just during rush hour?
I think it will be. I think it will be. I think there will be barriers involved, the highway barriers. So I believe those do stay in place and they aren't removed at night.
Go ahead.
During non-rush hour, are there going to be parking restrictions on both of those sides so that when, for example, during phase 2, the middle lane's blocked off, the parking lanes are then going to be open as traffic lanes then?
Correct. Yeah, there will be parking restrictions throughout the whole 5
Throughout the
lanes.
process. Thanks.
Suggest that you look for the permit signs.
Yes, sir. It's posted.
Do
Marlene?
you have any estimate about when this will happen?
Yes, ma'am. We are trying to start it on May 15th. Our commitment to the ANC is that we're going to advise them a week, give them a week's notice if we start earlier, or if we don't start by May 15th, then we start later. We'll have ample time to notify everyone that yes, we're starting, or no, we're not starting. And as I mentioned, it depends on the availability for a pre-construction meeting with the DDOT inspector and the DC water inspector for the pre-construction meeting.
I have one follow-up question as well. How close is the work to the Tilden Street intersection, the light there? How many cars would fit in after the construction? if you will?
After the
Well, not after, but as the construction's going on, if the cars,
It might be 3 car lengths from the edge of Tilden. So those cars will be able to get in that turn lane
right,
before
comfortably
making
get,
that right.
right, okay.
And the bus station won't be interfered with, correct?
No.
No, the bus station is not affected.
Good. Is there any other comments or questions? One more?
Yes, sir.
We're going to excavate the entire width of Connecticut Avenue.
No, sir, not the entire width. We're going to excavate 2 lanes at a time.
No, I understand that, but eventually, that's the total.
Yes, yes.
When you dig down will you go below, will you go down to bare earth?
Yes, sir. We are going to go like 8 to 10 feet. That's where the line is.
When you come back up and you do the fill-in, will that be identical to the fill-in that's in the street right now?
Or better.
Okay.
What we'll do is, we've engaged a geotech engineering firm that they're required to put 8 inches of soil, pre-approved, high-quality soil, and they will compact it mechanically until they reach the soil's maximum compaction capacity. And then there'll be 8 layers at a time. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So we don't have a motion?
There's no motion, there's nothing to approve. They just wanted to inform the community, basically.
Great.
What's going on.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Chick-fil-A. And I see John here and the team. Sure. Rachel, do we have the easel? Oh, they have an easel. Never mind. You brought an easel?
Yeah, a little bit like here, kind of face you and the audience.
Perfect. Thank you. John first. John, maybe you could introduce your team while you're setting up, and we'll put it on the record.
Good evening. My name is John Martinez. I'm the development manager for Chick-fil-A. With me tonight is our engineers, which is Mike Bartlett from Bowler Engineering. I also have our traffic engineer, Erwin Andrus is here as well. Our attorney is actually running a little bit late, he's stuck in traffic, but we don't need the attorney, so we can proceed with that. But I've also brought a few new faces. I brought Nathaniel Case. He's our design manager for the Northeast at Chick-fil-A.
Nathaniel Case?
Case, C-A-T-E-S.
Thank you.
Nathaniel.
Thank you.
I also brought two Chick-fil-A operators. So Jessie Chesson, she is an operator at the, I guess really the only Chick-fil-A's in the district over at what we call the DCUSA Shopping Center. And Mike Edmonds, who's a long-term operator at Edgewater in Maryland.
Hi, can I ask, I'm sorry for spelling, I apologize.
Jessie, Jessie, Chesson, C-H-E-S-S-O-N.
Mike Edmonds, E-D-M-O-N-D-S.
And Jesse, you're at Columbia Heights. Yeah.
I just want to make it clear for the record that neither of the operators are going to be operators at this location or being chosen. That decision won't be made for a while yet. It certainly doesn't get announced until the store is actually under construction. But I felt it important to kind of address some of the issues that came up last time. I wasn't able to make the last meeting. I had a prior commitment, but I was able to review the tape. So it's great that it's on the internet. What a fantastic tool to be able to kind of relive it and understand that there was quite a few questions that were left unanswered. And so since that time, we have done a few things. Mainly, we've gone out and actually counted pedestrian traffic along Connecticut Avenue. And secondly, and the reason for the new folks is to talk about operationally how we're going to run the what we call the face-to-face ordering at Chick-fil-A. That's something that's not new. We've tried it. We're testing in our markets. But we're taking all those learnings and we're bringing it here. So with that, I'd like to introduce Nathaniel Cates, and he can kind of walk through some of the face-to-face ordering issues. We'll kind of handle that first, and then we can talk about the pedestrians afterwards.
Okay. So Nathaniel, I'll ask you please just to run through it quickly and give us a quick 5-minute overview so that we can then get to questions and go into more detail then.
Absolutely. Happy to do that. So what we've done today is we really, what we'd like to do is we've created some renderings to basically describe how the operations of the Van Ness restaurant is proposed to run. And it's really the latest and greatest learnings that we've incorporated from the chain. Both of our restaurants in New York or Manhattan really, has a lot of pressure on the restaurant. And so we've learned via utilizing IPOS, we've been able to spread out and smooth out that capacity to make the restaurant much more smooth, much more functionally efficient.
But the Manhattan store is not a drive-through.
That's correct. We've taken those learnings and we've done that, we've applied those same learnings in the drive-through. And we've done that in several stores across the chain, and many stores are actually opt-in. And Mike Edmonds is an operator here locally who employs that strategy as well. He can speak to much of the operations. But what we've done here is we've created two renderings, both on the front of the restaurant as well as the back of the restaurant. And then we've also shown more kind of like a customer map, which basically describes the customer's journey throughout the from when they get off of Connecticut Avenue and onto the site, and kind of mapping out what the customer's interaction would be. And then that's broken down in different components.
Excuse me,
Yes.
just for clarity, the plan is essentially what we heard before.
Yes.
You're just going to explain to us better about
correct.
why it's going to work and things like that.
The plan,
Beautiful.
everything, all the drawings, everything related with the drawings is consistent with what you've seen before.
Okay.
It's really
Thank
about
you.
which people go where and how it's run, because it has a lot of positive impact to the efficiency of the operation. So these are the different kind of breakdowns, the components that Mike's kind of described. But essentially, I just wanted to share kind of very quickly what we're showing here. This is the front of the restaurant, so this is along Connecticut Avenue. This is the canopy that's coming across with the green roof to help with water runoff. This is the outdoor patio that's engaging the pedestrian interface with the street. This is showing the entry to the drive-through and team members walking along under the canopy, actually taking orders with the iPads. I'll talk about that in a moment.
And this is drawn to scale?
Yes. Well, I mean, this is just a rendering, but yeah, I mean, the human scale to the scale of the building is kind of gives you a sense of scale, yes. But this isn't a scale drawing, but it's essentially everything's to scale. And then on the rear of the building, this is showing where the order taking has taken place. There's a cash station. That's also to help speed up transactions. And then also we're showing a door here that I'll show you on the floor plan that actually allows team members to run out orders to the cars. So 3 orders can run out at a time, which would minimize the amount of impact of cars crossing the sidewalk. So 3 cars could pass at a time, which we'll show via this site plan. That's where we'll spend most of our time. So again, this is the breakdown of the customer's journey on how the operations of the restaurant will run. When you first drive onto the site, we have some signs that basically describe what's going to happen for the customers, and they're greeted with team members. And this whole notion of iPad ordering really is about 2 things. One, it's at Chick-fil-A, we have really good food. It's hand prepared. It's really hard to copy because our people are just so good. Because everything's just handcrafted and it's done in the restaurant. The other thing is it's really fast, and our people is just the other differentiator. And so what Chick-fil-A would love to do, and where we've tried to position ourselves as an organization, is really lead with our people so that we can be really fast. And that's really hard to copy because our people, we feel, are exceptional. And so in doing that, instead of a speaker box, we would like to lead with team members to greet the customer in the drive-thru. And that would happen 3 cars at a time, so we'd have 3 team members out there and taking the order. So that communicates to the kitchen to make the order. And then the cars come along, and then in lieu of a window, we actually have a door, and 3 team members will be able to run out and take the orders to the customers in their cars, which would again minimize the amount of times that the cars would be crossing this outpath. So it's really an effort to minimize any kind of stack out onto Connecticut, and then secondly, minimize the amount of cars individually coming across the sidewalk on Connecticut.
And I think it's important to know that while we're describing to you, we do this today.
We do.
Right. No, and we understand this. We've heard this described to us before, so we understand how it's supposed to work on paper. We appreciate the renderings. Our concern, as always, has been that if you have more than 10 cars, then you stack up, and you haven't been able to tell us how many cars you expect to have.
So what I do is actually, if I can leave with Mike Evans, he can tell you that he does this every day, right? Not every day. He does it when the weather permits.
Yeah, I don't have the luxury of the wonderful canopies and heat and fans and everything that this store will have in order to make it possible for them to do this function pretty much year-round, except for real extreme conditions. You know, in my mind, what I tried to do, I watched the video from the last time when you guys met with Erwin and
Jeff is here now.
Jeff is here.
And I thought, wow, what if I was going in to own and operate this store? Knowing that we have a desire to be a great community partner, support our community, and not create a situation that would be adversarial or difficult or create challenges. And you know, as we do this in my restaurant today, for example, we're able to do it with no more than 6 cars in the queue at this point here. With this technology, and in a store like this where I think there's going to be probably slanted a little more towards individual orders versus large busloads of people orders, you know, 10 people in a car, 7 people in a car, minivan. So we thought, well, we'll stack the 5 here, and then we have the potential of stacking 5 here. This concept of 3 orders, cash payment, 3 orders or 3 expediters moving, it works. No more than 6 cars in a stack today. You know, I watched last time and thought, well, what happens to the 11th car? If there's an issue where there's a backup or it's taking longer because there is a large order. In my mind, there's somebody positioned here to say, hey, you can park in the back and come in and dine with us, or you can go through the alley and find someplace else to park. Or you can try to circle, if you want to try to circle and come back to this, but you can't block. This is a pass-through. I think there was some confusion the last time about, is it a pass-through or going to take, there's no orders being taken in this bypass line or pass-through line. So you guys already have a situation where you have, I guess, backup on Connecticut Avenue, from what I understand from the last meeting. And the last thing that we want to do is exacerbate that. I mean, if I was to own this store, I'd live right here in the community. The last thing I want is all my neighbors going, hey dude, what's up with this? You're making this situation even worse. And I do think that that's one of the differentiators with Chick-fil-A. Yes, we're a franchise situation, but I'm the local owner. Local ownership was important to Trip Cathy when he started this back in 1967. It's important today. And it doesn't help anyone if we create a situation that is difficult or challenging for the residents that we're trying to support and serve. So if there's, I think there also was the question about, well, what about employees? Again, dreaming, thinking, if I was the owner, what would I do? I would find a local parking garage or parking lot and see if I could work a deal so that the few employees that I believe actually would drive to work for us, I think most of them would do public transportation or pedestrian bikes, whatever, that we could work a deal to where we would take care of the parking on behalf of the team member. Now, that's what I would do. I can't speak for the owner, but I do know that I know many of my colleagues, that's how we think. We're not here to create problem. We're here to create an opportunity for people to share a meal, to support our community, to provide a service, to provide jobs, to pay taxes, all of those things. And so, you know, I just thought, man, I wish we had the operator selected, because I think they would talk about, I'm willing to do what it takes. There was monitoring that was talked about in the last meeting. Maybe there's the option of being able to figure out this park, take some of these spots and make them dedicated to overflow, and have somebody who could take orders. If I have 3 order people here, I can have an order person out here as well. If I have 3 expediters here, I could put an order person out here. If that was what was needed in order to address ensuring that there's no backup onto Connecticut Avenue in this situation.
And to follow what Mike said, I think.
And I brought these, just not that you necessarily want to see them, but this is the technology that we use. It is a cash register, credit card swipe, fully encrypted, Bluetooth connected. When it swipes, it goes to somewhere across the country and gets processed and opened up and unpacked at that point. It's very, very efficient, sits on our head. 60% of the transactions are credit, so 60% of the cars aren't even stopping here. The only cars that are going to stop here are the cars that are paying in cash. The rest of them are going to pull up here, got the door. You got order 1, you got car 2, you got car 3, and move them along.
And I think one of the other things we thought about, what happens when, you know, that, I'll say that worst case, when you have the 10 cars in the back parking lot is full of customers are inside, when you hit that saturation point, we'd be willing to pay to have an off-duty police officer out here Because I understand what you said, you know, is the operator going to wave off the customers? But an off-duty police officer has no problem telling people to move along. And so we could certainly have that, and we would agree to do that, to use that in monitoring maybe the first 3 months. And if it's needed, I'm happy to continue that for, you know, for a longer period of time. But I hope we answer some of your questions on the ordering. I mean, we're able to take any questions that you may have. Or
Great. Thank you. And let me say, we really appreciate all the effort you've put into this, trying to respond to our concerns, our comments and concerns. And you have spent a lot of time trying to massage the queuing plan, which, again, is appreciated. And I still feel it's a bit of a leap of faith that it will work as designed on paper. But again, and I've made this point in previous meetings, it doesn't speak to the public safety issue, which is simply you're going to have a lot of people walking on that sidewalk, and you're going to have a lot of cars crossing that public space twice. And we appreciate now, Erwin, that you've gotten the pedestrian accounts. We did some sort of back of the envelope calculations, and based on the numbers in your updated report, there will be a car in public space over 50% of the time in the given hour, and there will be a pedestrian in public space almost 80% of the time. So the chance of a conflict between those two is just very, very high. How high? I can't say. You can't say exactly how many cars. I can't say. We'll get to the comments later. Can't say exactly how many pedestrians will be walking by, but it seems like an insurmountable problem. One that this, moving cars through more quickly and more efficiently seems actually to exacerbate that problem.
Yeah. And we understand, but by trying to minimize any congestion on Connecticut, but I do want to point out a few things that I think is critical on the pedestrians. So when we study the pedestrians here, we did find that the busiest pedestrian time is in the morning. It makes sense on the way to work. And that is clearly Chick-fil-A's least busy time. So not only do we expect here, but nationwide. So Jess herself, she calculated, that's 5% of her entire day's visit is done in those morning hours. So you can and that's consistent with what we've experienced elsewhere in other locations. I'm sure Mike had probably somewhat similar numbers. So when the most pedestrians are there, that's when we're least busy. But granted, we will be busier during that lunchtime and dinner time rush. Although the pedestrian count is significantly less in the morning when we studied it. So I'm not going to argue with you as far as even one car and one pedestrian could have an issue. Right. But I don't think that I certainly want to put your mind at ease that this is not a situation where there will be constant flow of pedestrians and no gaps for cars, or vice versa, constant flow of cars, no pedestrian gaps for pedestrians. There will be ample opportunities for those to occur. And remember, when pedestrian counts are done, and they say there's 300, it doesn't necessarily mean there's 300 single persons. There could be a group of 4 that counts as 4.
Or a group of 11.
Or a group of
which is where we have the problem.
Yeah, right. But being one group of 11 people walking, and then you might not have people walking for another half a minute or so, or even longer, even a minute.
Okay, so I'm gonna open it up for questions from the commissioners. I'm going to ask you to keep your questions to sort of the new information that's being presented to us in the new report with the pedestrian counts, and then the new schematics. Just so we don't need to rehash the old arguments.
Yeah.
Pat, anything? Andrea?
Nothing.
No? Mary Beth?
Did you all talk about deliveries, where the deliveries are made and when?
Deliveries to the vehicle?
Deliveries to the
food
store. Yeah.
So the main
supplies.
The main deliveries occur overnight with key drops. So they would occur between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., which is usually 2 or 3 times a week. Those deliveries are unloaded by the driver, placed in temperature control as needed, and then the next morning when we get there, we put it away. Typically between 5 and usually 10 in the morning, depending. There is also a couple of days a week produce relationship with the different vendors to say, hey, this is kind of our delivery window for this product. At my store, both of them come at 5:30. So I have everything done before we even open the doors.
And where do the trucks go?
The trucks would be in the alley. Service alley.
I think I have a question or two. I'm a new commissioner as of tonight, so I haven't. Thank you. I haven't reviewed your submissions in their entirety. So I'm just coming at this. I appreciate the expressions of the commissioners with regard to pedestrian safety and vehicle safety, for that matter, but especially the pedestrians. Taking it in a slightly different direction for a moment. When a car enters your establishment, how long are they idling and going through, driving in or idling and exiting? What's the processing time?
Well, that's going to depend on the guest. And sometimes guests are on their phones and will literally say, hold on a second, we're going to delay that.
Right.
If somebody's late, yeah, it happens at the window, and it also happens at the order point. We've actually found that people have a tendency to put the phone down if somebody's standing at their car. It's a little operational thing that's been helpful, but usually the order taking process is 30 to 45 seconds. And then getting their food, if things are running the way they're supposed to, we're literally, they're pulling out, we've already taken payment, we're giving them a bag of the receipt and a drink. So, it's kind of a constant, slow move, almost like traffic at 4:30 on the Beltway. It's kind of nice, slow crawl around there. So there's not rapid movement, but there also isn't typical just sitting still. The nice part about the door is that if we have an issue with that first card, where they want to add something to the order, they want to make a change, there's a problem, someone's able to come out and address the next two cars so that it may delay for a moment, but it would keep going. So
Yeah, I guess I'm just fundamentally questioning the model from sort of a modern air quality standpoint and a modern concern with ozone compliance in the city, where we're a moderate ozone city, and we probably have 5 to 10 exceedances per year, caused primarily by vehicle emissions. We don't have a lot of heavy industry. And I know also that there's a new effort, and hopefully more of an effort, to address climate change and greenhouse gas emissions. Once you enter a facility like this and idle for 10 seconds, from a greenhouse gas perspective, it's worth turning your engine off. From a volatile organic compound perspective, it may be worth keeping your engine on. But regardless, there's the dilemma, and you're inviting cars to come in and eat and dine out of the car, which I'm not weighing that in terms of my consideration, but that's a very outdated mode of dining and driving, in my opinion. And it exacerbates the ozone problem in the city, and it doesn't do anything to address the huge climate change issues we face in this city, in this country, and in the world. So thank you for that.
One thing that is a positive approach to the Chick-fil-A steak is we're one of the very few brands, one of the first brands that have actually been part of the lead volume for retail program, which is we actually partnered with the United States Green Building Council to certify our prototype design. So what that means is our HVAC design, the specifications we use for our roofs have a very high SRI value, which is a solar reflectance index, because they're white roofs. We have redesigned our hood system to where they're like 30% more efficient. We use low flow fixtures. So the way we build from a macros standpoint, the national accounts we use is all under the umbrella of LEED certification. And so that's enabled us. So instead of we have built 7 LEED individual one-off certification stores, but we've actually certified the way we build our prototype so that it's just, we can certify all our buildings under the LEED volume certification if we can meet our sustainable sites credits, which is contingent upon the site. Where in many cases, based on the local businesses around the surrounding area, we can achieve those when we're in denser environments. And I would bet you that
This will be a lead building.
this will be a LEED building, and we have those sustainable sites credits, which would enable us to be a LEED certified building pretty easily.
And specifically to your point about dining in your car, I agree with you. Sit across the table, put the phone down, have a meal with friends, family, connect. The reality is between 50 and 55% of our business, people are still wanting to grab it and go someplace else to do that sit down. It may not be to eat in the actual car. It may be to take dinner home and eat it later, take it home to their family, that type of thing. That actually, I think for Chick-fil-A is a pretty constant, if not just slightly growing percentage of dine-in versus carry-out. We actually put a lot of emphasis on the experience in the dining room, again, with people there to host or hostess in the dining room, to refresh beverages and to make sure that needs are met, to drop off a dinner mat, to clear your tray, with the hopes that people will park and come in and eat in the store versus just going through the drive-thru.
Okay, thank you.
So.
Project would have a sidewalk yet, but go further towards that model, having people on site, hopefully would have an enjoyable experience right there.
Okay, why don't I open it up to comments? Barbara, I saw you first, and then Marlene.
Hi, I actually was here in February, and I was the one, I believe, who raised the whole issue of pedestrian safety. And I've actually looked at the plan. I just am still needing clarification. Are you saying that, let's say in the morning, a car is supposed to travel across Connecticut Avenue, let's say going north, 4 lanes of traffic, and I'm talking about the breakfast time. You're supposed to navigate 4 lanes of traffic coming down Connecticut Avenue and then cross the sidewalk. And how's that all going to happen? It's not just having numbers of pedestrians, it's that whole interaction. And so what I'd like to see is for you to actually run tests and run cars coming up north, crossing that sidewalk and not hitting somebody. Because frankly, yeah, taking a left. That's what I'm saying.
So I'm not 100%
Is
sure
that
on this,
not-
but isn't there
There's
DDOT
no
restrictions? I thought there was restrictions.
Left side.
We've put in place a left out restriction, but is there not lane restrictions about left turns during times of the day on Connecticut?
So it is possible, you're going to have people turning left off of Connecticut into Chick-fil-A, again, navigating over 4 lanes of traffic, plus the sidewalk. How can any driver manage all that and keep himself safe? So I don't understand, and I don't understand why that test wasn't done.
I can answer that. Earl Wayne, just Woodgrove State Associates. Ultimately, when we go for permitting, DDOT will identify whether or not they will allow it. Because
I mean, that's what's happening.
well, currently it happens today with Burger King in the event that you want to go to Burger King for breakfast. But ultimately, through the DDOT public space process, they're reviewing our application and ultimately will decide whether or not to allow those. So it's, you know, it's DDOT's, essentially it's DDOT's call.
And if they do?
And if they do, then, you know, all it takes is one time to try and turn left during rush hour, and most reasonable drivers won't ever do it again.
But what if there's an
I know,
accident?
but you're actually, you know, you're essentially substantiating that point. That, you know, if you're waiting there and given the flows of traffic, the only way to cut across is essentially to wait for the light at Albemarle to turn right.
Actually, that's my second concern. Have you folks, I live right in that corner. It's difficult now crossing right there. Have you folks worked with DDOT or even proposed the idea of having a left turn signal to accommodate, and you talk about being a community partner, we need a left turn signal, not only for us, but for you. That would make a lot more sense than having us be concerned about crossing that sidewalk. Are you prepared to help pay for and or promote having DDOT
left turn signal where, at the
At
intersection?
Albemarle, Connecticut.
Well,
Because you're saying right now, you're right, it
Well,
probably isn't.
And again, you know, because of the way that the reverse flow lanes work, DDOT places a priority on that southbound traffic. So any left turn arrow or left turn signal will eventually essentially take away from the southbound traffic that DDOT is trying to essentially push through the progression. So, the first thing is that DDOT, again, as part of the process, DDOT has not identified that is something that they would require of us. In the event that they did, then obviously it's something that we would have to do as part of our permit process. But at this point, DDOT has not required that of us.
Marlene?
I'm Marlene Berlin, and the focus has been so much on cars getting through the drive-through and you're expanding the seating capacity inside. So what are your expectations of increasing walk-ins to that restaurant to be able to support your model? Because all we've heard is cars, but in, looking at other areas across the country and what information I've been able to get, the pedestrian or walk-in also increases. So when you did your pedestrian counts, you were just doing it in terms of what was there now. In your car counts, you were doing counts that were there now and then projected. What are your projected pedestrian counts for that restaurant? Because you're increasing seating, I assume you want more people to walk to the restaurant.
Well, we certainly want customers and how they get there, whether they're walking or driving. But what we found is that the current number of pedestrians is significantly less than what would be able to support this restaurant.
That's not my question.
So that increase, even if it would have to increase, it would have to be a very dramatic increase. I mean, double and double again type of increases before we can consider that amount of pedestrian traffic to support this restaurant.
So this is where I really don't understand. So you've increased the seating capacity by what?
I don't know if we've really increased it much at all. Essentially, the building is about the same size.
Not the same size. I think there's around 70.
There's about 70 seats inside. I think Burger King is somewhere in that same range right now. But we actually have to, we're putting an elevator in this building. It doesn't currently exist. So we're actually
But you also are doing an outside cafe.
We are putting some outside seating, that's correct.
Okay.
Which will be
That's
seasonal.
additional.
Yeah, which will be seasonal, but yeah.
That's additional seating. And so right now, Burger King does not attract very many people to the restaurant. Now, I assume walk-ins, pedestrians. I assume you want to increase that to increase those people coming to the inside of your building or to the cafe. So how does that work with your cars going through, especially during a really busy time when I assume people will also be increasing and walking, passing the driveways to get into the restaurant? How will that all work?
So again, make sure we're clear. So when cars leave, the pedestrians always have the right of way, especially in the south. Pedestrians have the right of way. So we're reinforcing that with signs here that will require the cars to not only stop and look and yield to pedestrians on the exit. On the entrance, we can't put a stop sign on Connecticut for them to enter, but we certainly have it so that the cars will have good visibility of anyone that's walking. I mean, we're not projecting necessarily a specific increase in the amount of walk-ins on this. We think we will have more walk-ins because we serve all things that Nathaniel said about the quality of the food, the service that you'll have, plus we're providing an outdoor seating area which will draw people to it because it's a great environment to be able to sit there.
Well, so how many people would you like to serve during your busy hours inside? And what are your projections? For inside service. So you have projections for your outside service, but not for your inside service.
No, the projections for the outside service, the numbers we gave were actual counts at somewhat similar restaurants. We don't have anything exactly like this in our portfolio, but we gave we averaged 5 existing Chick-fil-A restaurants in more urbanish areas, and then we actually counted those traffic, and that's what we projected here.
I think I understand your question. I think what you're asking is, do you increase, I mean, because Chick-fil-A's coming, we're gonna attract more people.
Right.
Okay, so,
I mean,
a lot of what I was speaking about is really about capacity. What I was saying is how can you serve the additional people that would be coming to the restaurant, right?
Correct.
I didn't talk about what the projection of number of sales we would generate, because we don't really know that right now. I think in terms, to answer your question, what's the capacity of customers that we can serve? It would be 70-something seats that we can achieve inside the restaurant, plus the additional outdoor dining. That would be the capacity of people that we can serve, other than the people that would be leaving the restaurant.
Okay, so.
Does that help answer your question?
No. So let's go to Tenleytown, which is not a drive-through restaurant. So what are your projections for serving inside Tenleytown? Don't you have projections for that?
Sales, but, I mean, that's not something that we would typically ship.
Or how many people would be going through within an hour that you would need? You don't have the same kind of projections that you have with cars that you have with people?
Well, so Tenleytown's a denser.
No, I know. But
That's-
just to give us,
that's-
I mean, you've also compared us with areas that are very different than what we are. More suburban, Bowie is a much more suburban area. This is an urban area with a drive-through. So, give me some comparables.
Well, we did actually at Jesse's store, so we actually counted pedestrians out on the street in front of our store, and then kind of compared that to this location. So you're asking for comparables, that's the one store.
How many, so you have cars going through the drive-through, and you have the number of cars you want to serve, okay? So I'm asking for a similar projection for people walking in. How many do you expect to be walking in and being served during your peak hours like you have for cars?
I mean, the only thing I say is Jesse, I mean, at lunchtime, I mean, how many customers do you serve on a typical lunchtime in an hour?
Well, because she doesn't have a drive-through, that wouldn't be a fair,
I know,
you
but-
could then split it. I think and that's what you're looking for, 70 to 90 people would be what I would say. If I was the operator, there's no scientific data to that. It's just saying based on the volume that we expect, based on the car accounts that we expect through the drive-through, typically, and the way it relates, at least my experience has been, is to the number of seats.
Okay.
So,
David?
Yeah, I just want to.
25.
More than, or double.
Yeah.
I just want to interject something, because I've been at Chester's restaurant in Columbia Heights. So, as a result of something that you suggested to the campus. And it's a nice restaurant. Look, the increment of pedestrian traffic is not just due to people who sit at the tables inside. It's also due to people who come to buy and take out on their legs, so pedestrians as well as people who take out on their cars. So you've got to get into all of that. You've got to allow for the fact that Jesse's restaurant is in a fully developed area. They built it all up. Whereas this Van Ness area is just at the beginning of a rebirth, as you can see what's going on right across the street. So it's more complicated. But you might just want to, Jesse's, I haven't had the pleasure. I've seen her picture before, but I've never seen her face to face in the same room. But she gave me some time on the phone to describe what goes on, what happens, and I also was there and watched it. And it might just be interesting for you to have some feeling, like, allowing for the fact it's a different neighborhood, different development stage, and just about how many people are walking in, how many are sitting and eating, like I did, how many are carrying out, like the lady in front of me, taught me how to use the system to my advantage, and very tasty.
Thank you. Yep. Adrian?
Yes, I would like to know, you mentioned earlier the quality of the food. And our new man here mentioned earlier at the Washington Home. Well, at the Washington Home, they serve, the chicken that they serve is frozen and imported from China. So I'm asking you guys, where does the chicken come from? Is it free range? Is it Auschwitz chicken, like the kind they put in a cage and torture it? And we're supposed to eat that? Or what is it that you guys are going to sell in our nice neighborhood? We don't want this kind of thing. We want like a really good quality pizza, or the free range chicken that Turker sells, the chicken kebabs at the bistro. That's what we want. We don't really kind of want you guys.
Well, just to answer your question, Chick-fil-A has made a commitment to no antibiotic or antibiotic-free ever. No antibiotic ever.
Good. Well, it's a step in the right direction.
And so none of our chicken, all of our chicken has never been touched by antibiotics, which is, we're really helping to shift the entire industry.
Okay, so it doesn't have antibiotics, but is it imported from China?
No.
Okay.
It's all right here in the United States, every bit of it.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions from people in the audience? Anything else from the commissioners? Okay, again, I want to thank you guys for coming down, for making another presentation.
And thank you for allowing us to at least try to set some of the issues that were all clear.
Good.
Sure. Thanks, John.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which will be the, let's do other business first.
Okay. So there's,
Could I ask if you want to have separate conversations, you step out into the hall to do so, please? Marlene? Could I ask you to take that outside? Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move to other business, and then we'll do the treasurer's report.
very quickly, the only other piece of business is that I would just like to move that we approve an expenditure of up to $300 to purchase a scanner and potentially, if there are leftover funds, related supplies for that scanner and printer for use for our staff to assist us with our duties.
Second.
Any discussion?
What's this for?
This is to get a scanner printer.
No. What's the scanner for? Yeah.
For Rachel.
For Rachel, so this would be for using
Scanning
uploading
sign
things to the
copy.
website.
Okay.
She's going to help with. There's a lot of documentation that needs to be scanned for the quarterly report that we filed and so forth.
Okay. And it's be faster than like using a cell phone app, things like that. Okay.
Yeah, because it's
Multiple pages it can handle.
I know she wants to do the treasurer's stuff, which is a lot more work, right?
Yeah, I don't have a particularly good scanner, and so you have to for the quarterly reports, we have to scan, you probably even know better than I do, I'm about to do my first one, many documents, some of them multiple pages, two-sided, and upload them individually. It's a
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And where is it going to be kept? Is it going to be?
That's a good question, so.
It'll
I don't
belong to
know
the
the answer to
ANC, and we'll figure out who uses it the most.
Good question. Okay. I think there's some weird thing about where the equipment is stored.
I'm not aware
And
of that.
I think you might want to look at that because I know there was always a problem with where we were going to store the video equipment.
Well, if we could get that out of my basement, that'd be great.
I know. I mean, there is an
Or the
ANC
signs in my-
office, and
office.
probably most of you have never even seen it.
That's true.
But it's just not very convenient because you two are probably the two that are going to be using it. So anyway, I'm
Okay.
absolutely supportive of it, but I would just say
Let's look into
whatever
it.
that
That's a good
rule
point.
is.
Okay, so we have a second. So all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Okay, let's move to the treasurer's report.
Okay, So since our last meeting, and I did this since March 15th, our last monthly meeting, we have spent $3,663.85. The bulk of that was for website development. Additional expenditures included frame and shipping for the Adam Tope resolution, payment for our ANC 3F mailbox, which due to administrative responsibility transfers, we got a little behind on. We are up to date now.
Like 2 years
Through March 2017, but we had some catching up to do, so that was a little large. Staff wages and internet. Our current bank balance is $109,979, and I'm happy to pass this around if you'd like to see it.
Great. If you have an extra copy, I'd like to, can you send me that by email?
Yeah, I can do that.
You can scan it.
Thanks.
You can have this copy if you want.
Just for the minutes. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Any other issues, items anybody wants to raise?
I would just like to commend you on running a very efficient meeting.
Thank you.
Well done.
Second.
All right. So, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you.
Hallelujah.
All right. What is it,
Promise we're all gonna be like
9:25?
this.
Okay.
And we still.
And I still have half the power left.